Good morning, good morning, good morning. So glad to be here with you guys this morning. Actually, I'm a little nervous at it at the same time. But before we go any further, let me give a big shout out to the administration team for allowing me this opportunity to be here with you guys this morning to add value, right? So, mental health is a topic that we all have heard of, we all know about, but at the same time, we don't give this topic the respect that it deserves. What I mean by the respect that it deserves is just imagine one of you guys have a friend, a aunt, a uncle, a parent, or anybody. They bought you a pair of shoes, but to you, they were the ugliest shoes ever. Now, I know most of you guys are not gonna wear them, right? Because they don't fit your standard. And I know 9 times out of 10, you guys are probably just gonna slide the shoe under the bed, slide the shoes in the back of the closet somewhere so you can't be reminded of what it is that you just received. And that's how we treat mental health. We treat mental health as it's such a thing that we could push it to the back of our mind and nothing ever comes about it, right? So most of us, when we think of mental health, a lot of times we go back to the movies that we saw and we may see a guy in a wheelchair, maybe he's banging his head against the wall, or maybe you see a guy drooling out the mouth, right? That's one image, right? Another image is maybe you see a homeless guy and every time you see him, he's doing like crazy things to you, such as maybe running and racing with traffic, right? Those are some of the images that we get when we think about mental health. And because we don't associate ourselves with this guy that's in this hospital, or we don't associate ourselves with the guy that's homeless, we don't think that it could happen to us because we're not associated with either one of those. But I want you guys to think about this. Before that guy that was homeless and he was doing all those things he was doing, and I want you to even think about this guy that was in this insane asylum that you saw in the movie. Do you think those guys were born in those places? Or do you think those guys were like regular individuals like yourself that just so happen to be in school, right? With mental health, we never think it could hit us until it hits us. I'm gonna say that again. With mental health, we don't think it can hit us until it hits us. And we're one of the two descriptions that I just named because we were so blinded and we were so closed-minded that we only saw it happening to certain type of people. But the truth of the matter is, mental health happens to everyone. Some worse than others though, but it happens to everyone, right? Okay, think about a time where you were not feeling good, or just say somebody you know wasn't feeling good, and they had a bad day at school, and you guys were friends, and they came to school and they act different, and they had another bad day, and they went back home and came to school and had another bad day, and the next day they got suspended. But that's not the kicker part. They got suspended because somebody stepped on their shoe and they felt disrespected. That's what we see. But because mental health is so invisible, we didn't know that he was keeping all his anger and frustrations built in because he was getting abused at home and he didn't have anything to eat. And so everything that happened to him, and he kept it in, but everything just kept on happening to him, and eventually he broke. He broke. But he didn't break, right, because of the situation that happened to him. He broke because his mental health had been unattended. And he had been suffering and he had been in pain for such a long period of time. And the next thing you know, he projected how he felt. He felt pain, so he wanted to inflict pain. Right? And I'm here to help you guys with the tools and the necessary equipment that you're gonna need to acknowledge, to respect, and to help your mental health and your mental well-being. First rule of mental health. First rule of mental health. First rule of mental health is the individual is the important part of the equation. You are the important part of your mental health, right? That's the first part. Imagine you and your friends are walking in the neighborhood and you notice a black car is turned around the corner and it just started to follow you. The very first thing you do after you turn around and notice that a black object is hanging out the window is you were aware of what was going on around you. You were aware of going on what was around you. So, after you became aware, you acted on the situation, which says, I know right now because a car is following me and my friend, I'm in the midst of danger. So the first thing that my mind tells me to do is to run. And that's what you do. How many times have you guys been in situations where you knew they were bad, but you weren't aware? How many times have you guys been living at home, right? But you were aware of the bad that was going on and you acted. So awareness is kind of tricky. It's kind of like it's double sword. Sometimes we choose what we want to be aware of. And sometimes we make the wrong decision. See, sometimes we ignore that pain that we're feeling deep down inside. Sometimes we ignore the struggle and how it makes us feel less than because we don't have everything that our peers have. Sometimes we ignore the fact that this guy is putting all of this peer pressure on me to do things that I don't want to do, but because I want to fit in with a situation or a group of guys that don't even accept me for the person that I am, and I want to be liked because I have low self-esteem, how many times do we make those bad decisions? So in awareness, you're not only aware of what's around you, you're aware of how you feel about yourself. You're aware of how you think about yourself. You're aware of where you come from and how that makes you feel and how that makes you think. You're aware of the struggles that go on in your life, not alone your life, but your parents' life, because you're with your parents and you see the struggle that they go through sometimes. You're aware of that your mom or your dad, they work 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week, and the only thing that they want to do on their off days is sleep. You're aware of that. And see, it's that awareness that's the first step. But I need you guys to act on that awareness. Being in the midst of danger, being in the midst of adversity, and not acting because you're aware is crazy. It's suicidal. So, after we become aware, we need to make the adjustments. We need to make the proper decisions to help us get into a better situation or to help us alleviate the feelings that we feel in the current climate. All right. I remember being in college, and every single time the semester would begin, for my first few years, at least 3 or 4, I would have a professor and they would always say, all right, first week of school is over with, second week, first assignment. This is what I need you guys to do. I need you guys to write a paper, and I need that paper to be entitled, Who Am I? Now, for those of you guys that's out there, let me give you a little backstory about me. I love school, right? But I hate writing because I don't feel like my level of writing is in the level of writing that's worthy enough of getting graded with a great grade. Like, I feel like my writing is like maybe C or D level. So I'm always kind of discouraged when it comes to like writing papers and things. So that was always my first phobia when it came to who am I. But my second thing, when it came to who am I had to look in the mirror and I had to identify who I was, past, present, and future. Now, the hardest part of the paper, believe it or not, was the past. See, the past, I had to revisit and I had to relive like parts of my childhood that wasn't too glorifying, right? So I had to go all the way back to that time where I was a kid and we was in a single parent household and I was watching Mom Dukes. She had to work 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet, only because we were in a situation where she was a single parent. I had to relive all of that. Then I had to go back to the time where I was in the neighborhood, and in my neighborhood, we didn't have models of what success looked like. To me, success looked like the guy that sold drugs. Or to me, success looked like the guy that was playing basketball. Or to me, success looked like the guy that was trying to rap. And I had to relive all of those things. And it just hurt because I had to look at myself and see what I wasn't. But see, the thing is, when you look at yourself and you don't see what you are, you got the first step. Now you know what you need to do to become who you want to become. And unfortunately for me, I did the exact opposite. I did the exact opposite. See, I knew in order for me to get into better shape, I had to get out the circle that I was in. But I stayed engaged in the circle that I was in. See, I followed my brother because my brother was he was that role model for me. Like I said, my dad wasn't there. I was fighting for acceptance. I needed somebody to cling on to. So I clung on to my big brother. And unfortunately, like he was dealing with his issues. Because the same things that he faced, I faced them also. But he dealt with his issues different than I dealt with my issues. Right? He did a lot of things that kids had no business doing. But that's how he dealt with the pain. He never voiced his opinion of how he felt, right? And so as I'm writing this paper and we getting down to who am I, like there's a level of anxiety that I feel remembering that, like, whoa, like you probably don't have what it takes to get to that level that you trying to get to. Like I get it, man. You overcome a lot. Like you the first person in your family to just be trying to get this bachelor's. But the track record says guys in your family didn't go to college. Right? The track record says, nah, we work 9 to 5s or we do street jobs and stuff like that. That's what the track record said. And you know what? I used to be so ashamed because not only did I have to carry that with me, I also had to carry the fact that when I was 17 years old, I stood inside of a courtroom and a judge looked me dead in my face and he said, Jarvis Jones, we hereby sentence you to 15 years for simple armed robbery. So that was another level of baggage that I had to put on my back and carry with me while I was in school. That's another baggage. That's another thing that's telling me, well, you a convicted felon. Did you know that you had like a 66.6% chance of going back to prison within your first 5 years of being out? So it's another level of pressure and another level of stress that's added on top of me. But at the time, I didn't think about my mental health and how to approach it. Not knowing who am I, it was breaking me down. But at the same time, it was making me have anxiety about my past and what my future could possibly hold. I didn't know I was at odds. I was at odds about what I wanted to do because I couldn't just get a grip on life. And life was trying to take over for me. Life was trying to take over for me, but how you get over and how you get through life is you become aware first. And then the next thing I need you to do, right, this is gonna be hard because I know a lot of times we don't like to be at blame. But you must, it is imperative that you accept responsibilities for what you did.